to another episode of Cultivate and Keep. I'm Corey, and that over there is Jeremy. He just took a sip of his coffee.
Sorry.
Nice, dude.
I'm in this. Okay. Hey, guys.
We're in this. Thanks again for listening. Shout out to our Patreon subscribers. You can go check them out and how to support us at cultivateandkeep.com/support. We're just going to jump right into it because this is actually the second time
Round 2
that we're recording this episode. It was my fault. We recorded 2 episodes back to back, and then I forgot to put them on the drive where we save them in the cloud. And then my computer decided to lock me out and not let me get in, and so I had to take it to the Apple Store, and we had to erase everything and start over. And we lost it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think this one was pretty good the first time. So
this one was fire the first time, dude.
Yeah, so a bummer.
So, big expectations to live up to.
Yeah.
But then again, they don't know what they're missing out on.
That's
Only
true.
we do.
That's true.
Hopefully it's good.
Anyway,
All right.
So we can't waste time.
Let's get into it. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so I think we announced it a few episodes ago. But we're kind of trying out a new format. So what we want to do is kind of take turns. Basically, we're 1 week I'll bring a topic and basically just have like a prompt, and then hopefully that sparks conversation. And then the next week Corey will do this. We'll do the same. So this week it's my turn. So hopefully it's good.
Let's see it.
It's
dude.
kind of like a competition. So 1 week it's me, 1 is Corey.
Tell us who's you like
and
better.
You vote and let us know who's more entertaining.
Email us at cultivateandkeep.com.
Anyway, so I came across a story. I've been reading Genesis, and I kind of always thought Genesis was like boring and hard to get through, and this time around I've been enjoying it a lot and kind of liking the stories I've been sticking out and kind of having like a new perspective. And so I was reading the story about how when Jacob found the woman he wanted, Rachel, and how he, if you don't know the story, basically what happened was there's a guy named Laban, actually, after my last name.
Laban,
No,
Laban.
I think it's Laban. His name is Laban.
Let's call him Laban, though. That's fun.
Let's call him Laban. So his name is Laban, and he has 2 daughters, Rachel and Leah. And according to the story, Rachel was like beautiful, like kind of the girl that everyone wanted, and Leah was not so much. That's kind of all it says. Like, basically that. I think it says
there's
she
other
was,
sisters too, right?
Yeah, well, in regards to Jacob. So Jacob,
okay, yeah.
those were the 2. And I think it says like Leah was weak in the eyes, is like the, which is like the statement it says in one of the verses.
Which is like,
yeah, it's like
sort of savage.
Yeah, it's like super like, dude, like take it easy.
Yeah.
And so Jacob comes across these 2 girls, and Rachel again was the one that he wanted. And so he approaches Laban, who was the father, and said, Laban, like, I want to marry your daughter. What do I have to do? And Laban demanded that he worked for 7 years to basically earn the right to marry his daughter. And so Jacob did it. He freaking worked 7 years and put his life on hold and just dedicated all of his time and effort and energy to doing what he had to do to finally get his bride, to get Rachel. And after 7 years of working, he... like back in those days when they had like weddings or like ceremonies, there's like a big feast and like a big party celebration, and it's like a big deal where everyone was invited, kind of like our modern day weddings.
Yeah, like the whole town comes.
But
it's a
it sounds like theirs
celebration.
were like more focused around like feasts, and also like more like focused on like honor. That was kind of like
they didn't have
focus.
like a DJ back then.
Yeah,
so
it was straight up just like
ate,
food
dude.
and like that's it. Like
play music.
And so anyway, so they have the feast, and back then when they would like finalize like the marriage or whatever, they would have like the bride and groom go into a tent, and the party would continue. And so they had the feast, and Jacob went into the tent with who he thought was Rachel, and they did their thing and whatever, and the following consummated exactly. And back then, like, it was dark, there was no like mood lighting or candle. Well, there's candles, but there wasn't.
She probably had like a veil over her face.
So it was dark,
traditional.
so he didn't really know like what he didn't know what was happening. And so they went in, and then the following morning he woke up, and it was Leah. It wasn't Rachel. And this is funny because he went 7 years, like, worked and thought he was finally getting that prize. And after 7 years, he woke up the next morning, and it was Leah. And in the story, he approaches Jacob, and he's really frustrated. He approaches Laban, and he's really frustrated and all this stuff. And as I read that, I was just like, dude, like, that sucks. And I was just kind of thinking, like, that is like so much how life is. Like, you work hard for something, you sacrifice for, you go after it, and you're
promised something.
You promised it, and you think that when you finally get what it is you're working for, that it's going to fulfill you, that's going to be, all that you thought it was going to be. And oftentimes like you work and then you wake up in the morning and it's Leah, and it's like the complete opposite of what you thought.
Yeah.
And you feel cheated, you feel like a promise was not fulfilled, like whatever it is, it's not what you thought. And I just thought, like, dude, like that is like a great illustration. That's like a great conversation to have, like to talk about that. And so
not particularly in the sense of like a relationship or a marriage, but more just like in life in general. This is a great analogy for that, right? Like we're not specifically talking
I mean,
about,
really
like,
with anything, like
yeah.
if it's a job you've worked for and you wanted a promotion, if it was you're working on like a new skill to develop, or literally anything you work for thinking that when you get there it's going to be like what you hoped it would be, and like once you arrive it simply falls short, like so anything, marriage or anything we've listed. But I mean, I have some points we can hit, but that's kind of what I want to open with. Like, I just think about that for yourself. Like for me, when I read that, I kind of thought through, like, there's been a lot of stuff in my life like I've worked for, and I've like hoped it was going to be like the very thing that I wanted. Like once I got there, it was like, like this isn't what I thought. And I think depending what it is, like if it was like let's say like a promise that wasn't fulfilled, like you feel cheated, right? You feel like, dude, like why? I'm sure like Jacob felt like, dude, like Laban, like what happened? Like you promised me this one thing, and then
just
you
pulled a fast
straight
one.
up like cheated me out of this, and you had no idea. And what's crazy is like they consummated, like it was like sealed and done, because that's how it worked. And so in the morning, like, there was no like backing out. He didn't have what he thought he was gonna have.
I think this happens more often maybe than we would like, that we would think, but maybe even more often than we would realize it's actually happening. Mm-hmm. Think about like going through high school, playing sports, like going to college, even like 4 years is a long time to like, bunker down, pick a major, invest all this time, maybe even get into like a ton of debt, like spend a lot of money, invest a ton into this, maybe even move, across the country, invest into the sort of network there and the ecosystem. And then just to find out like there isn't a job, or maybe just to find out like this isn't what you want to do after all. Or maybe to find out that like it's not a great paying job and it's not going to like make it work for you. You have to do something else, or you need to go back to school again and invest even more time and energy, which is similar to what Jacob did again to finally get Rachel. But I don't know, it just reminds me how, like, one, life isn't fair, which is like a tough part. We've sort of talked about this before. Like, I wish that life was easier, but like the reality is that all the good things are hard, and like just bad things happen, and there's no way to control that. But also too, how we have to, even when these things happen, then like what do we do after that? Like what's the response supposed to be after that? Like, do we get depressed? Do we give up on it? Do we do we get angry at God, or like what's our response supposed to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think our natural response is to do that. Like in the story, I believe this was the one where Jacob, when he was given Leah, not Rachel, when he went, sorry, not Jacob, it was Jacob, and when he went to Laban, saying like, I feel weird saying Laban, when he went to Laban, he said like, hey, what the heck, dude? Like, this is not what you promised me. And so Laban said, okay, work another 7 years to get Rachel. And so Jacob's response was to just work more and to like put his head down even more, even though he didn't have to. And I'm sure like you're saying, like the response is like to feel like a victim and to feel upset. But Jacob just like put his head down and kept working. And so I think like there you go. That's the answer. Like, and it depends like what it is like that you're against or facing. In this situation, Jacob kept working. But I was thinking like, so before we recorded, we were talking about that client of yours who this guy like bought a business and then invested into it, and basically it hasn't been what he thought it was going to be. It's been much more difficult. And like you shared, I think he's in the red and he's losing money like month after month so far. Yeah. And that guy, like he's in it. Like, there is no like at this point like he could back out, I guess, but he's just going to lose money on it. And so like that's like a situation like super practical, like he wasn't really promised anything. He made a choice that thought was a good choice, and it turned out so far has been difficult. Yeah. And it's like that's kind of the same thing. Like this guy could probably, just hustle his way and figure it out, or he could back out. And it's kind of like the same like analogy. Just you have to get out of it. Like it is what it is, basically. It's like, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. It's actually a really good point. So the company I work for, Baremetrics, we work with a lot of software and subscription businesses. And essentially I was talking with one of our customers who will remain nameless, and there's really nothing to expose about it. And it happens actually probably more regularly than you would think. But someone buys a business, and it could be, early stage, later stage, but in this case, basically he was doing enough revenue to get by if it was just him. But when he bought the business, he hired on 3 employees, and he was trying to turn things around. And essentially what he was explaining to me was that this business that he thought, or still thinks and has a lot of optimism for, but he thought has a lot of potential going into it. Like now he's finding all the creaks and all the things that are wrong. Things aren't performing as well as they should. Things are costing a lot more than they should. Like he doesn't have enough time to go and like, basically he was explaining to like how frustrated and how slow he's moving, and just how like it's different than he thought it'd be. He acquired this business a few months ago, and already like he's feeling like sort of burnt out with just the level of pressure being put on him from, one, like losing money every month, but 2, like figuring out what he has to do going forward now. I mean, yeah, like I said, that's a super practical, example, but that could be the same for a job, or if you have like a ton of student debt, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel really cheated and really stuck in all the time they've invested, the degree they have, and now feeling like, what am I supposed to do with this? Or like, this is so like, where are all the jobs? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I think it's like with this story, Jacob simply just didn't get what he was promised, right? And so it was kind of one of those things to where like what he got just it literally wasn't what he thought it was. But then there's the other side of the coin where it's like so let's say it's as we take on student debt and we're doing it for a job. But let's say you actually get the job that you went to school for. I think a lot of people like they land that job, they get the promotion, and it's like not like what you thought it was, right? And so that's kind of the other point I want to talk about. Like, what happens when you do get what you were promised, or you do get what you worked for, but it's just not fulfilling. There's a quote I wanted to read from a book, Loveology. It's about marriage, and he says, in hindsight, my crisis of faith was based on a faulty understanding of marriage. It wasn't that my marriage was in trouble, it was more like my unrealistic expectations were in trouble. 90% of the problem was in my head. And I think that's like a lot of what happens. It's I think it's probably less of not getting what we hoped for, but it's more of our expectations. And when we do get what we want, it's just simply not what we thought it was. And I can think of like so many examples of just, for me, like that's happened where it's like, oh, this isn't like that fulfilling. And I think a lot of it is it comes down to like, where is your like satisfaction? Like where are you being fulfilled? And the truth, we know this, but I think we fall into the trap of like believing and hoping to be fulfilled in something or someone rather than like the Lord. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've like, to be honest, really the only thing that I feel like that's been super satisfying and like truly like far exceeding all expectations for something that I've really worked towards, was like being married and marriage. Like that's the only thing that I've spent years and years like preparing for, working in, like being in a relationship then, that really felt like, man, this is all paid off. This is all worth it. But I remember graduating high school. I think you told the story before, but like the day of our graduation, or like it was it was the last day of school. Like it's like this supposed to be like this grand celebration, and like everyone's happy, like we're done forever, like we're adults now. And I remember pretty distinctly feeling like that's it. You know what I mean? Like this doesn't feel like anything. I just went home and played video games. I just nerded out on some Skyrim.
That's so funny.
But now,
and you passed up the opportunity to hang out with friends.
That's true.
Like all of our group was like having a pool party and like having like a barbecue. Corey went home and just
I like couldn't even think about it. I don't even
covered
know
the blinds.
Yeah, I was like totally dark. I had like a blanket over my head. That's probably. Funny. But but then I'm realizing like, shoot, like this isn't a ton of freedom. Like now it's actually a ton of responsibility. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing when I graduated college, and I think I had better expectations going into that, but feeling like, oh, finally no more homework, no more school. I get to work and like make money, and now I can move on with my life and get married. But then like, I mean, we took, what was it, a week off from, right after I graduated, went to Seattle.
Yeah.
But like the next week, then I was working full time, and like reality kind of hits of like, all right, well, I mean, this isn't as like grand, and I'm not making tons of money, and it's not as easy as I thought it would be. It's not as like fulfilling and exciting. A lot of it does have to do with expectations.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, for me recently, like it's been cool. Like the last 3 weeks, every time I'm at church, like Sunday or like a home group setting. I don't know why. Like I wish it was this way more often. I think just how like worship should be. But like for me recently, it's just been so good. Like
Hmm.
I have been like overwhelmed, like almost to the point of like tears. Which for me, like during worship, that rarely happens.
Yeah.
And it's been like. And when it has happened, is that like a camp or some kind of like conference where it's like
Yeah.
like a spiritual like high and everyone's like pumped. But dude, just like on Sunday morning, I have felt so what's the word, like just overwhelmed with like gratitude with like where my life is at, and
Hmm.
like being married now, like with my business. Like I'm just so grateful for like the life that I have, and like things are going well. It's like a good time for me. And it's been like super cool. Like it's led me to back to like the third point we'll get to, which is like being fully just like delighted in God and
Hmm.
like thankful, like everything that I have, like the good and the bad, everything that's going on, like it's because the Lord is orchestrating it, and it's been like just a cool like spot to be. I've been like super thankful, dude. It's been fun.
Yeah.
So the third point I want to say was take delight in the Lord. There's another quote I wanted to read. He says, "This is a command. When you take delight in the Lord, you get satisfaction, meaning, fulfillment, purpose, identity, and validation, all of which we look and hope to find in love." He says, "You think you're craving romance, but you're really craving God. You think you're dying to get married, but really it's God who is underneath your desires." It says says fill in the blank, whatever it is. Like you think. Like let's take love. You think you want to be married. You think you're craving romance, which you are. You want those things.
Yeah.
But underneath those desires, like what we don't recognize is it's God. Like that is really what you're craving. That is what is really going to fulfill you. And I'm like, I was thinking to myself, and I was thankful, like for me, because we've talked about this, but I think so. In my personal life, the last probably 4 years, I think I've been like an upward climb. Like it's felt like most of what I've been doing has been like working kind of like for that next like step, and I've kind of always felt like unfulfilled, I guess. Recently it's been like it's constantly for the next thing. And in my family we do like when it's your birthday, my parents will write us like a letter, and so it's kind of like affirmation or kind of like recapping a year. And my birthday just passed like a month ago, so happy birthday, woo. Anyway,
24.
yeah, what's up? But before so my mom read me a letter, and she said last year this time when I read your letter, what I said to you was I feel like this is going to be a year of like fulfillment, going to be a year of where you finally like get what you've been working for.
Wow.
And I think she felt like led to say that. And so it was funny, like this year when she read her letter, and she kind of like came to tears, and she was like, "Jeremy, like I'm happy, like it makes me so happy to see you like happy, like you are at least for now, you are finally like you're being fulfilled, like what you've worked for is currently paying off for you."
Yeah.
And I know that's not like it's over. I know there's gonna be more steps and more climbing, but it was just cool. Like, and all I have to say, I think I'm grateful that like for me at least, like that's like I'm recognizing that it's because of like God. It's not because like my effort. And I think when there is like when you do finally get things that you have worked for, I think you are fulfilled. Like you can get what you want and be fulfilled when you recognize like the source. And so I'm grateful like this time around, like I'm recognizing like this is because of the Lord, not because of my efforts. 'Cause I don't want people to think what we're saying is like you get what you want and you're always gonna be disappointed. Like it doesn't have to be that way. You can get what you work for and it can still be fulfilling. I think just remember like where the source is, like what caused that to take place in your life.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think it's a great way, like a great point to kind of bring it full circle. And like in any and all situations, like how do you manage your expectations, and then how do you like when things aren't what you expected, what do you do? Well, like take delight in the Lord. Like now with everything that you do, don't look for this thing to ultimately bring you all the fulfillment and satisfaction and ease and rest and, like peace and joy.
Yeah.
Look to God for all those things. And then through that, he's going to bring you these opportunities, kind of like these vessels where he's going to bring you that joy.
Yeah.
Now that job is going to give you that satisfaction. It's going to bring you the money. Now that relationship is going to, turn into marriage. It's going to be fruitful. It's going to be awesome. Now that education is finally going to pay off. You're going to find the job that you want. Now all the savings, grueling frugalness and all the things you have to cut out of your life are finally going to pay off into this thing that feels so good to invest in your life. But I think having it all in the context of taking delight in the Lord and focusing on the Lord first, and then having this thing being sort of like a fruit of your relationship with God and your reliance on God just helps you manage the whole process much better, and it really brings you a lot more joy in the long run.
Yeah, I don't like to have like such like a vague answer of like, oh, have delight in the Lord. That's it, because that seems so just like Christianese, like simple and easy to say. But I mean, like really, I think that's what it comes down to. I also think that I think it's like a continual process of like reminding yourself of that and like continually taking your place back to that spot of like really being satisfied in the Lord, because it's like a cycle. It's really daily, and it's not like you do it once and you're good. It's I forget who said it, but someone said like life is a process of like ups and downs, of like the Lord basically bringing you to the end of yourself. And it's like once you stop relying on Him and trusting and looking to Him for validation, for satisfaction, it's like you're back to like a point of like being in need. And I think life is kind of like that, of like these ups and downs. But I think the more we can like maintain satisfaction in Him, like it will limit those downs. I hope and I believe so.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great point.
Andy, anything else, or you think we're good?
I think we're good.
So round 2 was a success, I think.
Round 2 is a success. I think so.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, this is my turn, so I think next up is going to be Corey. So place your votes, and I plead with you to pick me. Corey, take us home.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for listening. Please like and subscribe. I don't know why we always say like. I think that's just what we hear from other people, and we always get sidetracked in the outro.
I do. You're good at it.
Okay, I'm all right. I'm not doing very well right now. But please subscribe. Tell a friend. It really helps push it. We're really seeing a lot of
it's been good.
Interesting, replies, emails. So thanks for all that. Keep reaching out. I love seeing all the downloads from different countries and states around the world. So thanks again, once again, genuinely for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.